Welcome to 412 Sports Talk, the number one podcast for Pittsburgh sports. Steelers, we talk it. Penguins, we talk it. Pirates, yeah, we talk it. With the biggest guests.
Bob Pompiani, Pittsburgh legend. Mayor Bill Peduto, the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, is on with us. Doran Dickerson, West Allegheny legend.
Trey Essex, welcome.
Available on iTunes and Spotify. Hosted by Mad Chad Nolan.
It over too much. Well, now he's not turning it over at all.
And Eddie Provident.
We've got the best team in football.
And now, 412 Sports Talk.
All right, well, welcome back to the 412 Sports Talk podcast for another week. Going to be a depressing one this week. I don't even have a witty intro for Chad. It's just sad.
Armchair GM.
Yeah, armchair GM. I guess we're going to shout out 412mcmstudios.com and our guy Mike Hitt, and we appreciate him. He's got our back through the good times and the bad. But some good news. We've got a guest with us this week. Taylor Haase of DK Pittsburgh Sports is on, and she's going to give us the postmortem. So, Taylor, the real question is, how much pain are you actually in?
Oh my God. No pain at all. Despite with my Instagram DMs.
What was the I listened to some of the post game stuff. They email us all the post game interviews, the Penguins media, but just your general, like, was this one, let me ask you this, compared to the last couple years, how was the feeling different after this one for you with the players and the coaches?
Yeah, Crosby kept repeating, this one stung, this stings, and because you can't say they were outplayed, which you can say in years past, and I think that's what makes this one maybe more painful for some people, that they played well. It's just goaltending did them in. I mean, they're not going to say that in the post game, but I mean that was the difference maker.
Yeah. Do you think, and maybe this is even hard for you to gauge, but you're a lot closer to the team than any of us are. Do you think that to a man they still have confidence in Jarry, and do you think that there's anything salvageable with Jarry for next year, or do you think that even the team is kind of like, man, he really let us down?
Yeah, I mean, confidence it's hard to gauge that. I thought Matheson's point after Game 5 was interesting. He talked about, he's like, every one of us, we make mistakes. Every game we make a lot of mistakes. He said the only difference is with a goalie, there's no one there to back you up, so you're going to notice them a lot more. So I thought that did kind of sound like genuine confidence, that they didn't think they still thought highly of him. As far as like fixing him next season, it's hard to say, because he did have a very good regular season. It just, he kind of dropped off in the playoffs. I mean, I'm sure everyone saw the stat, his goals saved above expected, and he had the worst playoff performance of any goaltender since Ilya Bryzgalov in 2014, which is not a good
Yeah, you don't want to be compared to Bryzgalov.
No, not at all. And the things that kind of were an issue for him in these playoffs, like his glove hand really wasn't an issue in the regular season. There are some things like, when he came out to play the puck in Game 5, obviously, that is something that maybe we did see a little bit of during the regular season. I can't remember which game it was where it was like he was trying to score, he tried to play the puck, it went the wrong way, and, they tied it. So, and there are a couple of other, things you can point out during this, the regular season, where maybe he tried to play the puck and it didn't go well. But the things that were, that we really focused on Jarry in the playoffs, that it was like new to the playoffs really. So I that kind of gives me confidence that he could bounce back.
I have no doubt that he could bounce back. I said that I still think Matt Murray is going to bounce back in his career too. The problem that I have with bringing him back as the starter unquestioned next year is I don't want to have deja vu again, because we did that with Matt Murray, where Murray was great, then he was mediocre, then he was bad, and it kept seeing like, okay, well, this time he'll be better. I don't want to go through this whole process as a fan, because I thought this team was their best team since 2016, and I don't want to go through this whole process again and then having Jari come back only to provide them subpar goaltending. Like I would feel much more comfortable, and I do think Hextall will go out and try to maybe make a move for someone that would be considered our true number one goalie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. You don't know what the market's going to be like with who's going to be available. I know, Dreger's a name people throw out there, but I don't. I mean, he can't really be your number one. If you want to go towards a more like 1A, 1B, like a tandem, maybe he would be a better option for that second guy than DeSmith. But it is hard to say without knowing what the market's going to be like.
Speaking of DeSmith, I mean, let me ask you this: do you think if he's healthy, he starts Game 6? Or maybe even before then?
Yeah, so I got, this question. We talked about this on our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, DeSmith injury, was that, the difference maker in this series? And I don't think we would have seen him before Game 6 because, I mean, looking back, what Jari's like really, like bad game before that, before Game 5 was Game 1.
Game 1,
and I don't think they would have given Jari the hook after one game.
Fair. And he was lights out in Game 2. I mean, to his credit.
Yeah.
That was his best game, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. And so I don't think they would have made the change after Game 1. And Game 5, I mean, even then, I don't know if they would have started DeSmith after. I mean, I don't know. They wouldn't say anything else, but, Sullivan did, the talk after Game 5. The quote was like, Jari had a heck of a game up until that point. I think the first Twitter reply I got on that was like the Titanic had a heck of a cruise up until that point. Like, so I don't know. I don't know if they would have made the change for Game 6. I think we would have seen DeSmith at some point in Game 6, if not starting. But would it have been too late? Because I mean, if you put him in after Game 3, after Goal 3, does it change anything?
Touche.
Yeah. So moving, I guess let's take a look at the rest of the roster because we could. I mean, let's be honest. We could pick apart the goaltending. We know what it was. Sorokin was awesome when he was in net. Jari wasn't, and that's pretty much the long and short of it. But the rest of the roster, obviously, I'm not even going to entertain the trade Malkin, trade Letang crowd because I think all three of us are in agreement that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Brainworms.
What do you see as far as moves, though? Like, I'm somebody who thinks that, and I think I know Chad's in agreement here. As good as Matheson was in the playoffs, that contract is just tough to swallow. And if they could find a way to move it, I would be all on board with moving it, especially with POJ coming up. What kind of roster moves do you see? Do you think it's going to be pretty much intact? Obviously, we're going to lose somebody to Seattle, but I mean, what's your thoughts on the roster as it stands and what it's going to look like going into next season?
Yeah, just running down the list of free agents off the top of my head. Bluger and Gaudreau, I think, Bluger's a RFA, Gaudreau's a UFA. They're the guys who have earned kind of significant raises. I think Bluger makes $700, Gaudreau makes $750. Might have that backwards, but if you want to bring them back, that's going to cost a little bit of money. Aston Reese and Ceci, I think you should bring back at probably maybe about what they're making now. Ceci might have earned a little bit more of a raise just because of the minutes he ended up playing from the NHL roster. Who finished on the NHL roster. I think Jankowski, Rodriguez, and Sevier Walk.
I'll drive Jankowski to the airport.
So they at least get those guys off the books, and they do get a little bit of cap space. What Bukestad's retained salary comes off, which is about $2 million around that. So
right here it is $2.05 million.
Nice.
Yeah. So that, and then losing the other Sevier, Jankowski, that can at least maybe help pay for the raise the Bluger's earned, and then Gaudreau if they do want to do that. As far as trades, I still don't know what you would get to if you want to move out Matheson. I don't know what you would get back for that, and I think if you want to
tie something to it,
well, that's the thing, and it's like I don't think they're in a position where, especially with Hextall and how good he is at rebuilding, that they want to be throwing in picks and prospects to do that. If you do want to free up a spot for Joseph, I think Pettersson's probably your best bet there. Moving him out, you're not going to get a whole lot back for him, so it might just be as simple as trading him for something small or putting him as part of a bigger deal. But I mean, other than that, I don't think I would make any changes to the forward lines. I think you're going to lose a forward to Seattle.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way they were rolling in the playoffs, I wouldn't look at any of the four forward lines and be like, okay, they need to add this here.
Yeah.
I know you're one of the analytics supporters, and we appreciate that. How do you deal with and how do you think the players deal with the fact that we're seeing them play good, we see them create chances, like Jake Gensel is getting killed right now on social media just because the puck's not going in, and where do you think the thought process is with him and the team, where they know that they're creating the chances but the results aren't going in? Where do you think their mindset is, and is there anything that you can think of that would fix it other than just getting better puck luck and facing less so inferior goaltending? Because it's hard to explain sometimes. Like, Jake Gensel sucks, he's not scoring goals, and we show people no, he's creating chances, just not going in. It's a frustrating conversation to have.
Yeah, Gensel led the team in shots in the playoffs. I think he had 25, and he led in high danger attempts too. I think it was 11. And so the top line, even in these playoffs when they weren't scoring, they were at one point. I can't remember. I didn't look at what the final numbers were, but they were up from the regular season, even as in pretty much every offensive category. So it's not that they weren't creating opportunities. It's just that I think Sorokin might have been the difference maker here, because you look at the combined on ice shooting percentage. And it's the Islanders shooting percentage in these playoffs. There's something 11 something percent. In the Penguins, it was 5. I think it was 5.77%. So if you look at that, that's goaltending. And I think going back to that, the goals saved above expected stat for Jari, if they had even gotten average goaltending, we're not talking about this. As tight as those games were, if he had the stats that he let in 8 more goals than he should have, if he doesn't do that, we're not having this conversation, because the series might be over.
Now, one conversation that would keep going because of the way Boston is known to play is the whole physicality thing, and I think that's why Gensel's name is getting thrown around so much in the trade, in those trade conversations, is because he's a smaller guy. He's not a big frame, and we all know what. Especially Ron, what Berkey wants. Berkey likes his big tough,
truculence.
Yeah, his truculence is. I'm torn on this, and Chad and I have gone back and forth with this a lot.
We argue a lot about it.
I am 100% an analytics person, and I think that should trump everything. I do, however, acknowledge that the NHL sucks at officiating, and until they start policing their own players, you kind of have to have, in my opinion, you have to have a nuclear option, to where, if you're going to have a line brawl, if you're going to have just a shit show of a game like we saw with Washington and New York earlier.
Crosby getting cross-checked in the back with no
Crosby
call.
getting cross-checked in the head. You got to have somebody that, maybe you don't put him in every game, but he's there. He's on your roster. Or he's in your organization for that 1 or 2 times. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I just think that, finding guys who can do that and do that well, and also play hockey well.
They're not,
they're so rare. Yeah, they're so rare. They're hard to come by. You kind of have to, the Capitals and Tom Wilson, you kind of have to find them yourselves and develop them yourselves. And the Penguins really don't have anyone quite like that in the system. And going out and finding one via free agency or trade would just be, so expensive. And I don't think, if they're going to overpay for anything, I don't know if that is the route to go.
Well, because everybody on Twitter right now is oh, the Penguins need to get bigger. And I think people equate, I don't know why people equate bigger with tougher, because there are guys that are 5'10", 5'11" that
Hornquist wasn't huge.
Yeah, they play bigger. I think they just want toughness. And my whole thing is, okay, I'm on board. If you can go out and find a top 6 winger, maybe you move Jason Zucker and you go out and get a top 6 winger that has the speed to keep up with our top 6, but also does provide, front net presence and all that stuff. My whole thing is those guys are hard to find, and teams aren't exactly wanting to give those guys up. Matthew Tkachuk's the only guy that I can think of that would fit that bill. Well, it's probably going to cost you Jake Gensel and something else to go get him. So,
but you know what kind of changed my mind about the Penguins was this series. because look at how Brandon Tanev played. Look at how Zach Aston Reese played. Look at, we
Jeff Carter, honestly.
Jeff Carter played that way. And I know he's the star of the team, but even Sid gets gritty every once in a while, and Sid is not afraid to get his nose dirty. I was actually happier with what I saw out of this playoff series out of the Penguins as far as toughness goes than what we saw in the regular season. I thought that when the Islanders tried to push them around and get stupid, that's when the Penguins played pretty well. Like if you think about
aside from Game 4,
yeah, but I don't think the Islanders didn't do that in Game 4 as much, and they actually got to their offensive game a little. I don't know what the difference was there, but I mean, when it had to be get tough and fight back, they didn't back down, and even the whole top line was in the penalty box at one point in time.
But Taylor, you talked to the team. Let me ask you this: what do you think? Just giving off of what you know, what do you think do you think the players, do you think Sid and all them are on board with we need to bring in maybe someone at 6'2" that can skate and hit and put, do you think they buy into that? Because I think Sullivan doesn't. I don't think Sullivan cares about size whatsoever, but maybe the players do.
I mean, I don't get that. It's hard to tell from it's this season, these WebEx calls. You don't get to talk to anyone one-on-one, but I don't know. I memean, there are some games where this season where they were physical and maybe the Penguins were heavily out hit and you asked about it, and they don't seem to be too concerned. I think it was the first game of the second series in Washington where they were heavily out hit. And the hit statistic is always hard to actually put a whole lot of salt into because of who's tracking it and all that. But I remember I asked, Matheson and Sullivan about that, and they didn't seem too concerned. Sullivan talked about, how physicality is just a whole lot more than just hits on the score sheet, and he thinks, it's physical play that, they fare well in that, even if, they're being out hit in the game. Matheson kind of expresses similar sentiment.
So the other, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to move away from the playoffs because I'm just, quite frankly, I'm tired of being sad. I'm in pain. If you want to tell that guy from your Instagram, he can send a message.
Yeah, Eddie will cuddle.
I'll cuddle with him. No, but let's look at, you touched on this a little bit, but with Seattle. So who do you think that the Penguins are going to protect, and what do you think, how do you think this is going to shake down? Because I think it's going to be one of Zach Aston Reese or Kasperi Kapanen or Jared McCann, and I hate to say any one of those three names, but it's going to be one of those three, in my opinion.
I do think it's going to be a forward. I think, defense, I don't think it matters who you protect either way, and especially with Marino and Joseph exempt, they really have it easy on defense. So, Letang, Dumoulin, and then take your pick of whoever else. If
they want to take Matheson, hey, go ahead.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I think because I've written a few, who would I protect? I think my last one I had, CC, even though he's a pending UFA, if you want to keep him, you got to protect him. So that's what I would do on defense. Forward, I think you're going to lose a forward no matter what. So Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Russ. I'd protect Kapanen, McCann, and that's 6, and then that leaves you one spot kind of between Tanev, Bluger, and Aston Reese, Carter. I don't think you need to protect Carter because if you're Seattle, why would you take a guy who's 36 years old unless you think you're going to win the cup, you're going to be a contender that first year? It's a waste of a pick. You're better off taking someone like an Aston Reese, younger. I'd be leaning towards protecting Tanev, maybe leaving Bluger exposed, but even then, it's so hard. They've had such hard times finding, centers. I think, maybe Gaudreau kind of helps. And, if you do lose a center, he can play center, and he did it well in what we saw of him this season. But I think it's a forward, and I think, you use that last spot on one of Aston Reese, Bluger, Tanev, and then one of those guys goes.
Yeah, my hope would be that I think Zucker, to me, is the contract that I'm looking to get. I know that he actually had a decent playoff series, but if you're looking to make changes, to me, he only has a year left. He has, and if you're looking to make changes and move cap space, to me, I would want to move Zucker. And I think, Hextall is going to have a big decision with Tristan Jarry coming up. I am in the belief that because I went back and looked at Hextall's track record with Philadelphia, and he did a lot of good things. He made some really good trades. The one thing that he really could never get a grasp on was that goalie situation, and he was also criticized for how he dealt with Carter Hart. To me, I would be shocked if the goalie situation isn't the top priority for him. I mean, I know you said that they might bring Jarry back, but do you think they should? And what are you getting out of the organization right now? Have you heard anything about, or are they just now getting into that process?
I mean, it's so early. They haven't even had clean out day yet. So
True. Yeah, pack your shit, Tristan.
I just got email clean out days tomorrow. So it's too hard to too early to have to know what's going on there.
Let me ask you that. Yeah, what do you think they should do then?
I just think moving Jarry out is going to be hard. He doesn't make backup money, so it would have to be a team that's looking for a 1A, 1B, and I don't know. And if you trade him, are you just looking to free up cap space or what? It goes back to just what the goalie market's going to be like and who's going to be out there, and if there is a true number one starter out there that's going to be available. And the expansion draft complicates so many things too.
That's true.
You have there are good tandems out there, but Vegas. But
that's who I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier. I said the first thing I would do, and again, it's easy for us to put on our GM, but it's fun. That's what we like to do. Is I'd call Vegas and be like, "Hey, Rob and Leonard, I know you guys can't afford to have Fleury and Leonard going the next year. They're actually projected to be over the cap. I know all the Inzers are like, no, we want Fleury back, but actually Robin Leonard's the guy I would want because he only makes $5 million, and they might even eat cap space. So that's an interesting name to me. I think that he would be a huge upgrade.
Yeah, that's the thing, because if Vegas goes into the expansion draft with the goalie situation, they're going to lose whatever one they don't project.
We can't even do any of this without the expansion draft.
That's my thing is if Vegas doesn't want to lose one of those guys for nothing, maybe they make a trade before the expansion draft and at least get something back, and then then they're not losing anything for and then you can maybe leave Jarry unprotected and then just see what kind of happens with that. But
take him, please.
but so that you might see kind of deals made, because there are a couple of tandems like that around the league where it's a team's going to lose a good goalie for nothing.
Yep.
So you might see some of those teams might make those moves, and maybe you might be able to get a goalie for cheap, because if the alternative is just waiting for Seattle to pick them up.
The guy that I Josh Sobalski brought this name up. The guy that I'd like to see them go after is Linus Ullmark
from Buffalo. Yeah, Jesse Marshall said that too.
He had a really good season, especially for what Buffalo was. I like him. I mean, I think that would be a guy where he probably wouldn't come in and be a number one, but it would kind of be like what you were saying.
But I don't want to
1A, 1B kind of thing.
I don't want to do that though, Eddie. But here's the thing. Go ahead.
Well, I'm okay with it because Jarry showed us something in the regular season. This was his first experience in the playoffs. He wasn't good. Let's be honest. He had one really good game and that was it. But I still think that there's something there. We can't throw away the entire season that Tristan Jarry had. As much as we'd like to, and as hard as I was on Twitter, you can't just throw away this entire season because he was a pretty solid goalie. And I think that there's still something there. So if you go into this season and you say, hey, look, Jarry, you're not the backup, but the starting job isn't yours either. I want to see what he has. Does that galvanize him? Does that light a fire under his butt, and does he start fighting for that number one spot, or does he curl up and turn into Antti Niemi, and then we know that he's not the guy? I mean, that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, and to that point, a lot of teams, like she said, are doing the 1A 1B thing. You kind of really need to have two goalies nowadays. The days of having a number one guy that's playing 60 games is going to be very rare. So.
And the Sabres would be a good team to poach a goalie from, just because, I mean, they're not going to be a contender next year.
And
And how many goalies do they have? I mean, Omar, Hutton, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen,
Say that 3 times fast.
Tarski, I'm sure they could move out, but then again, the Sabres are going to be a team that's going to want picks and prospects.
Well,
back
the nice thing about Allmark is he's a UFA.
Yep.
So with that, I don't see him re-signing in Buffalo. I think he knows that he's better than that, and I don't think he wants to come back to Buffalo. So I would love to see the Penguins be in on him. But yeah, that's the name that I keep circling back to is Allmark, and I think it's a perfect situation because it gives us a chance to see if we really do have anything in Jari. And he only made $2 million this year. Or Allmark only made, I think, a little over $2 million this year. So I don't think he would be super expensive either. Yeah, he $2.6 million. So I think you could probably get him for maybe 3 or 4, probably closer to 4. But
you can just bury DeSmith in the minors.
Yeah.
And only a little bit of.
And it really wouldn't hurt to have DeSmith as a third.
No,
DeSmith's probably the best third option you can probably have in the league right now, honestly.
Yeah.
Before we go, I have to ask, and I don't want to ask this, but I had this question pop up because I had told people you were coming on the show. Hey, what questions you have? Mike Sullivan. I'm not going to be the Yinzer that says they should fire him, but let me ask you a question. What would it take for his job to be even in question? Another flame out next year? Where do you think the organization is with him, especially now that, it'd be easier to answer that question if Jim was still the GM, but he's not. We have Ron Hextall now and Brian Burke as director of hockey operations. So this is a new front office. So where are you at with Mike Sullivan? Are you still are you still on board with him as being the coach? What do you think it would take for him to be moved out? And do you still believe the team is still buying into his system, which obviously they probably are considering how they played?
Yeah, I mean, to start with that, I think they are buying in because pretty much everyone other than goaltending, I mean, especially the forwards, they were all rolling in the playoffs. That wasn't the issue. I think I'm leaning towards, he comes back next season. Hextall being the GM and him, having this first, off season to kind of mold the team the way he wants to. If he does want to change the identity, the coaching job might be a place to do that. But I also think I don't think you can fire Sullivan after, I know it's 3 straight, playoff losses, early playoff losses, but I mean, if you look at this season, I don't think you can really group this season in with, the last 2 because they really played well. You can't get rid of Sullivan just because of the goaltending flamed out. Maybe that's a discussion about, Mike Buckley's job.
Yes. My God. I had his name in my mentions a lot too.
Yeah. So maybe that's a conversation for what they do with Buckley. I don't know what kind of other goalie coaches are going to be out there who's looking for a job or who they might be able to take from other teams. So, I mean, that's part of it too. But as far as the head coach, I don't think you get rid of Sullivan just because of another early playoff loss, which you can kind of just blame on the goaltending.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Well, I got one more question for you, and we'll get away from the Penguins here. Or maybe it'll be away from the Penguins. I guess that'll depend on your answer. Just want to do a palate cleanser because I think we all need it. What was the point in your life, and what was the event that made you fall in love with hockey?
Okay, so I'm from Baltimore. So I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm from
Baltimore.
I
did not know that. Oh my goodness.
I'm from Baltimore. So growing up, I used to go to a lot of Caps games.
Okay.
My mom's a Caps fan. My dad is a Penguins fan. So when I was younger, I think I was maybe 50-50. Now my favorite player growing up was Jágr. So I mean, went to the Caps when I was in I think I was in first grade when that trade happened. So I was a fan of Jágr, through that too. I was going to Caps games, watching him. Olaf Kolzig was another guy I was a big fan of on the Caps, and then Alexei Kovalev on the Penguins. But
okay.
So yeah, I mean, that was when I was really young, and I was collecting hockey cards and all that. I mean, as far as working in hockey, I don't think that even crossed my mind until college. I did an internship with the Caps.
Wow.
It was video editing, and then that made me want to get into maybe social media for a team, and then I realized I didn't like that, but then I started doing social media at DK, and then that just kind of opened up the door for writing. started with like doing the writing about the prospects, and that's what I still do. I wrote a game story for every Wilkes-Barre game this year just because I love that. But yeah, that's kind of how that started.
Cool. Yeah, you do a great job with all the prospects and stuff like that. That's definitely what I look at for the most. And we actually, so last one, we did have prospect questions. So Pierre-Olivier Joseph, you think he makes the big club next year? Yeah,
I mean, if there's a spot for him, yes. I think he's earned it. I think you look at, how he looked when he got sent down to Wilkes-Barre. It was, I think, a great improvement from, when he was in the AHL before. The biggest thing that stood out is he just looked stronger. Stronger on the puck. But he also kind of got more feisty, more physical too, as the course of the rest of the AHL season went on. And I mean, he's laying like heavy hits. And I asked, after one of the, the post games, I asked, Wilkes-Barre's, head coach JD Forrest about that. Like, has Pio like upped his physical game, or like, is that something, you've had conversations with him that, the organization wants to see him doing? And he said, he doesn't, that they haven't told him to do that. He thinks the only reason, it's more noticeable now is that he's gotten a lot stronger. So he's finishing more of these hits. And, when he was in the NHL, I know his size, weight, whatever you want to call it, strength has always been something people are concerned with, but it sounds like the organization's not very, concerned with that. I know like last season, something Vellucci told me was that from, the start of the season to like mid-season, he doubled his leg strength. I don't know how you measure that, but he said no one put on more leg strength than Pio Joseph. So it's something like he's working on, since he's gone pro, and it's paying off. So I think, maybe another off season in the weight room, especially, he's going to come in really strong for training camp, and I think he can stick in the NHL.
And Pullian, close?
Same Pullian. I think he starts in the AHL. Just the things, they want him to work on, like his defensive game. Tom Kostopoulos, player development coach, he's watched a lot of his games and Legare's games, and he said, they're making progress. And I just think there's no reason to rush him. I think, start him in the AHL, see how he fares. If he does well, bring him up. There's no reason to rush him. Let him go down there. Get used to the pro game, play big minutes. Because, I mean, especially going from like the Q to pro.
They don't play no defense in the Q.
Well, and especially because he's coming from, like a wagon in Valdor, and then before that he was on Sherbrooke. Like, he's been playing on really good teams where they're scoring so much they probably don't have to focus too hard on defense. So I just think put him in Wilkes-Barre, let him start off down there.
But they're making good progress there, right?
Yeah, and I mean they're in the finals of the QMJHL right now. Pullian also kind of would give him more time to just acclimate to what position they want him to play, because he's played center and wing. He's been played wing most of the start of the season. He switched to center. Later on, he's been playing exclusively center for Valdor. He was on a line for a little bit with Legare. Legare has been on the second line wing for most of the season. I think both of them start them off in Wilkes-Barre and then just see how they do down there.
Sounds good.
Man, you know more about the
crazy
more about the prospects than I know about the NHL team. It's insane.
Oh, I could talk about
impressive. It really is impressive, Taylor.
Yeah,
well, Taylor, we know you're busy, so we don't want to hold you up anymore. But thank you so much for joining the show.
Definitely,
great to have you on.
Everyone
been under better circumstances, but
we've had some big names on. But like literally, like when I tweeted out today that you're going to be on, I had like a bunch of people. They were like, "Hell yeah!" So.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Taylor, thanks again. We're going to take a quick break, and then Chad and I will be right back to wrap things up. Cool. Hey, 412 Sports Talk family, what's going on? It's your guy, Eddie P. I'm sitting in MCM Studios right now with our sponsor, my man, Mike Hitt. Mike, what's going on, brother?
What's up, bro? 412 Sports Talk Podcast, Pittsburgh, PA. What is up?
What we're doing is, we're a local podcast. We talk Pittsburgh sports. We're completely supported by people that are either from Pittsburgh or have ties to Pittsburgh. And even our sponsor, MCM Studios, is over in Allentown in the heart of the city of Pittsburgh. But I wanted to bring you into the studio so you could see what Mike's got going on, and you can see a little bit of, what happens behind the scenes here at MCM Studios. So, Mike, what are you working on right now, man?
I'm working with always a stable of talented artists. Whether they're from Pittsburgh, they come to Pittsburgh to come to MCM Studios, they move here from out of town, whatever the case may be. A young, old, guy, girl, pop, rock, reggae, R&B, trap music. You know, I just work with a lot of guys that need the love and the attention and the direction in order to get their sound and their business together and their whole artistry, you know, in a position that is the quality and the vision that they were looking for. I kind of just help them bring all that together. So they're like, oh, you know, or I would have been lost for the next 3 years if you wouldn't have said, hey, go do this, or sing your song like this, or write a song like this, or this is a good look for you as an artist. That's really what MCM Studios does, and what I have going on is just continually helping artists. If they get famous, they get famous. If they don't, they don't. But just helping them along on this artistic journey so they can look back and it felt like it was worth it.
Yes.
I know how much it means to be a musician and need that backup. And I'll be honest with you, Mike has been a big part of the business side of 412 Sports Talk and how much we've grown as a business too, helping us with the legal side of things, giving us all the tips that he's learned in 10, 11 years of business. So, like I said, I just wanted to get you guys to take a look at the studio, hear it from Mike himself, and just get a little bit of the behind the scenes of one of our sponsors, our first sponsor, MCM Studios. And you can check them out at 412mcmstudios.com. You can check them out on Facebook at MCM Studios Pittsburgh. Check Mike out on Twitter at Mike Hitman with 2 T's. Let's build this Pittsburgh community because there's a lot of cool people, a lot of talented people, and a lot of great things going on in the city. Mike, you got anything else to leave them with?
You know, support the people around you that are doing cool things. If you can see that they're serious and they're dedicated and they're putting the time and they're making the investment in themselves, at least make, at the very minimum, the investment of believing in them. That's what I did for 412 Sports Talk Podcast. That's what I do at the studio with the artists. Just look at your life as one big investment, and I really think by doing that, we can all help bring everybody around us up.
So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini tour. We'll be back with stuff like this. In the meantime, again, I'm Eddie Provident. From Mad Chad Nolan, from my man Mike Hitt. We'll catch you later.
Peace.
All right, well, welcome back to the 412 Sports Talk Podcast, brought to you by MCM Studios and our main man, Mike Hitt. We want to thank Taylor for coming on again. That was an awesome interview. She is a wealth of knowledge, again, especially with the prospects. If you are into that kind of thing, if you're into what's going on down in the minor leagues, if you're into what's going on in the junior leagues, you really don't need to go any further than Taylor. She has a ton of stuff and a ton of information, and she does really good work with it too. So again, Taylor, we thank you for being on. Chad, we got into it a little bit with her, but what's your thoughts on this series and what happened with the Penguins? I mean, I think if you really watch the series, everybody knows what happened, but I mean, any details that you picked up on or anything that you would have liked to have seen differently other than the goaltending, or where are you at with it?
So yeah, I mean, the goal, I'm for one thing, I had to sit and watch Matt Murray get shit on I can go back to the 2017 Stanley Cup final, whenever, after game 4, when Matt Murray was putting up godlike numbers. I'm telling you that Matt Murray statistically had the best goaltending performance of all time. That is not me saying that. That is objective data. The best performance in Penguins franchise history in 2017, winning the Stanley Cup, 3.9 goals saved above expected, 937 save percentage, 3 shutouts, including back-to-back shutouts to win back-to-back cups. And people were in the comments like, they should have started Fleury. Murray's glove hand sucks. Okay. Then he got shit on justifiably last year. But then the same crowd are coming. I'm seeing on Facebook and Twitter in the comments, oh, it's not all on Jari. When This time, it is the goalie.
It was 100% the goalie.
Make a goddamn save. Like, I understand the defensemen were pitching, which we need to. We're going to bring Jesse on at some point because we need to talk about how just because you see a defenseman pinching doesn't mean they were in the wrong for multiple reasons. One, just go play hockey. I beg you, any level, deck hockey, beer league, go play in a competitive league. Defensemen pinch. That's what they do. And like the first goal of Game 5, everybody, Letang pinch. Bro, the pinch was covered.
It's the high forward's job to come back and cover the pinch.
And I gotta be honest, I know Jake Gensel doesn't play defense, which is stupid because in hockey, just like everybody plays defense. Just because you're a forward doesn't mean you don't play defense. That's stupid. If you know the basics of hockey, you play defense. I don't know what the hell he was doing. Like he got turned out. But again, if you go watch that first goal, Bolivier, I believe, is who scored, had nowhere else to go with the puck other than high blocker. That's the only, because Crosby and Gensel were both back checking, and also Brian Dumoulin had a bad pinch. But I know we have to blame Letang for everything too. But we can never blame Brian Dumoulin for anything, even though he also had a turnover on the second goal. But that was Letang's fault. Also, I don't know if you saw some insert was in my comments.
Game 5 either.
Yeah. But again, with everything that took place, make a save, bro. Make a save. Look at Sorokin. How many times did the Penguins have a high danger chance and Sorokin was like, nope, not today. God, I wish we had that. We haven't had that since 2017.
Look, if you look at the expected goals against for the Penguins, if Jari is average, they win the series. Like that, we're at least going to Game 7. We'll put it that way. If Jari is average, based on just sheer statistics, that is the problem. And I know we talked about this with Taylor, and he can't be the undisputed number one going into next year. They've got to do something.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. I think that might be a little bit of an overreaction, but there has to be someone to challenge him. Like there has to be. And I don't think I like Casey DeSmith, but I don't think that DeSmith has proven himself enough in a long enough span for it to be DeSmith either. So I don't know. Yeah, they're going to have to figure the you said it on Twitter, you said it here with Taylor. That's got to be their number one, and I think it will be Hextall's number one, is figure out the goaltending, because that's where it starts and ends.
Yeah, and the other thing that I have come around with, so we talked about it with Taylor about like size and stuff like that. Okay, so again, like people are like in my comments saying like, oh, Colorado is heavy, which are they? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I must be watching something different because like their best player is Nathan McKinnon, who is basically a replica of Sidney Crosby, and Cal McCarr is their best defenseman. And are we calling him heavy? I sure as hell hope not. Sam Girard, are we calling him heavy? He's 5'8". Like, nope. I understand. Okay, you need a balance. Okay, then I asked people last night, and I did a live stream for our channel too. Give me names, because at least when we were like the goalies, like we came up with a list of names. I think they should call Vegas about Robin Leonard. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the first phone call Ron Hextall should make, because like Taylor said, they're going to want to get rid of those guys before the expansion draft. Otherwise, they're going to lose a great goalie for nothing.
Yep.
Call Vegas, say, hey, give me names. The guys that I came up with today, hometown boy Brandon Saad.
Yeah, I would be all over that, dude.
If you want a forward he's 6'2", I mean, he's not going to be out there beating people's asses in fights.
He plays a physical hockey game.
But here's the most important thing. He can skate.
Yeah.
You can go out and get these big 6'4" guys, but can they keep up with Sidney Crosby?
And see, what you have to, if you don't get these guys as homegrown assets, they're expensive.
They're
expensive, or you have to find diamonds in the rough that, okay, maybe we can make him work at a discount, get him for a couple years, on a cheap contract, and he turns into something. Or what I think they should do, and this is where I land on this, I think they should go after guys like a Pat Maroon, was a name that I saw. Brandon Saad would be a name that I would be going after. Jordan Greenway would be a name that I'd be calling up Billy Guerin and saying, hey, what do you want for him? Is he available? What's the scoop on him? Because all of these guys don't put up big numbers, but they have some kind of skill and they can play on your third and fourth line. I don't want these guys on my first and second line. And I even like going back to our conversation about having that nuclear option, Chad, I don't want these guys on the first and second line. I want Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust, Kasperi Kapanen, those types of guys on my first and second line. I don't want bigger, heavier, even if they are, unless it's a Tom Wilson who can put 25 goals in the net, I don't want these guys on the first and second line. I want them on the third and fourth line so that they could still go out and be productive, but be like Brandon Tanev and run around and hit people and let that physical presence be felt while still playing good hockey. And that's where, for me, that's where your third and fourth line comes in. You can get those guys for not super expensive, and they can still put 10, 15 goals a season in the net. And I'll give you here, like going back to Jordan Greenway, the reason why I bring him up, he's a first liner he's been, bouncing between the first and second line for Minnesota. He only has, he's averaging a little less than a half a point per game as a first or second line center or winger for Minnesota. He's not first or second line material as far as what his production is. But I guarantee you, if you put him on a third line with Jeff Carter and Jared McCann, he probably could get into the front of the net and really do some damage. Those are the kind of guys you have to look for if you're the Penguins. That's my take on it, at least. And that's how I think they need to get a little bit tougher or bigger or more physical. But it has to be guys like, that, like you said, they have to be able to skate. They have to be able to play hockey. They're just very hard to find. You can find them, but they're hard.
Yeah, and so also, let's talk about this real quick. Trade Letang, trade Malkin. Listen, I'm begging you, if you're listening to the show, listen to me closely. Come in here with me. I want you to learn what a no movement clause is. I'm begging you. I will do anything. I'll help you. I'll tutor you. We can have Bible study type sessions. I'll come to your house and I'll read it to you and show it to you and whisper it to you in your ear before you go to sleep. What a no movement clause is. Evgeny Malkin can veto any trade. Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux are on record saying they don't want him to go anywhere. If Evgeny Malkin wants out of Pittsburgh, he's going to be out of Pittsburgh. Now, the conversation about whether or not he's going to extend his contract, totally understand. That's a different conversation, and I don't know what Evgeny Malkin wants to do. I'm sure he wants to retire a Penguin, and I kind of don't know where this anti-Evgeny Malkin stuff has come from. Is it just xenophobia? Is it because he's Russian? I had people say that he's lazy. Yo, he's one of the most consistent players in NHL history. He won a Conn Smythe. You can't be a lazy player and win a Conn Smythe and 3 Stanley Cups. It's impossible.
Here's the thing. Sid loves him. They're best friends. They're two peas in a pod. Lemieux loves him. And I think that he likes being in Pittsburgh. From everything that we've read about him and everything that we hear about him, I hear that he enjoys Pittsburgh and he loves Pittsburgh. Somebody today, a friend of mine, was talking about maybe him wanting to go to Florida, wanting to live in Florida. Yeah, maybe, but let's be real about the two teams in Florida. Tampa Bay had the pull cap shenanigans to get Kucherov, off the books. He was hurt. And then Florida, while they have cap space right now, they don't have enough to sign someone like Malkin or bring someone like Malkin on. And they have 10 unrestricted free agents, and they're paying Bobrovsky $10 million, and they're paying Hornquist $5 million. So for the next couple of years, there's no way in the world that they can bring somebody like Malkin at the number that he's going to be wanting onto that team and make it work. So if those are the two teams that he would want to go to, I'm sure there's some kind of pipe dream way of making it work, but it's just not realistic. So for me, it comes down to this. Is it actually realistic? No. So why are we even having the conversation? But then 2, what are you getting back for? Let's say you trade Malkin, Chad. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He's 35 years old. He is making $9 million, a little over $9 million a year. Okay. What team is taking on a 35-year-old center at $9-point-something million a year? What team has that cap space? And then what team is going to give you back something that is as good as him or better in return?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. So with trading Malkin, like if let's be honest, if we were ever going to trade Malkin, if they were ever going to trade Letang, the window has passed to do that.
Right.
Oh, we want cap space. Okay, what player are you going to sign for $9 million that is better than Evgeny Malkin right now? The only guy on free agency that I can see is Gabriel Landeskog. That's the only one, and he's probably going to re-sign with Colorado.
And he's probably going to come in close to that number if he's going outside of Colorado.
Like, yeah, someone on Twitter said, if you look right now, they said, oh, they should sign Landeskog. Like, he's going to cost like $10 million a year.
Okay, and then let's look at like Chris Letang, same deal, like $7.25 million. He's a 33 or 34-year-old defenseman. Who is taking on a 33 or 34-year-old defenseman at $7.25 million a year and then going to give you something worthwhile in return, Chad? Like, I'm not just taking a first for Chris Letang because Chris Letang is worth more to this team than just a first-round pick. Well, it doesn't make sense. There's no reality where these trades make sense for the Penguins.
The other thing is, haven't these guys, I mean, it's the same thing with Ben. Haven't these guys earned the right to kind of go out the way they want?
Yes.
What has
4 appearances? What more you want from these dudes?
Like Malkin is one that, I mean, Letang, I can almost understand because he has done some things that are frustrating, and he's not like an all-time great. He's an all-time very good player, and I still think he's the best defenseman in Penguins history. And I know that's going to piss people off, but Malkin is objectively a top 5 player. I mean, you're talking about a generational talent that all of these other teams would have salivated over. I mean,
the 101st best player in NHL history.
Yeah, that's a joke. You know what's funny is I would put him in the top 20. Like, I think he's that great. And I'm talking about they're gonna raise a 71 banner and retire his jersey, and people just shit on him, and a lot of it is because of certain media members. And it's bullshit. Like, I'm done with the anti-Geno stuff. Like, you sound dumb and you sound like so ungrateful for like, you don't like some of these people don't deserve Evgeny Malkin. It's to that point with me.
For me, this is what it comes down to. It just doesn't. There's no way in reality that it makes sense for Geno or for Letang or for the Penguins. And it really doesn't make sense for any teams that would be suitors for them either at the price tags they're going to get them for. So, and what they'd have to give up to make the Penguins happy. That's what it comes down to for me. And that at the end of the day, I don't even understand why it's even a conversation when it doesn't pass any of those tests. So, you're laughing at something. What we got going on?
I guess guy is saying they should sign Gabriel Landeskog, and Tyler from Around the 412 said the salary cap is a myth.
Well, that's what somebody asked about. We were talking about Johnny Gibson and
yeah.
So someone asked, well, how do you make that work under the salary cap? And I said, just go into the settings and turn it off.
That's right.
Like, it's just. No, I mean, it's fun to pipe dream about stuff like that, but let's be real. Like, if we're going to have the conversation, let's be real about it. One of the other things that I want to talk about, Chad, because I think, especially today, we would be remiss to not talk about it. I put up a Twitter poll that's getting some pretty decent traction. We have 3 candidates, one from each sports team for the worst play in Pittsburgh sports of 2021. Everybody knows what the Steelers one is. It's the Pouncey snap in the Browns playoff game. Snafu, yes, bad timing, set the tone for a really bad game. So, there's number one. Number two, I would put Tristan Jarry's. I'm not even going to call it a dump. It was a perfect pass, tape to tape pass to Josh Bailey to beat himself. And then the Pirates see those two and they say, you know what, guys, hold our beers because we could do you better. You could go out and find the video. I will try to explain this. Everybody that's ever played baseball, you don't even have to have played competitive baseball. Everybody knows that if you play kickball, Chad, you know that all you have to do is tag first base, right?
All you have to do.
That's all you got to do is tag first base. Now, Chad, there's 2 outs, and a guy hits a ground ball to third base. I think it was Javi Baez hits a ground ball to third base. Third baseman throws the ball over to first base. Will Craig's playing first base. It was a little off. Brought him in a little bit of front of the bag. Tag the bag, right? That's all you got to do is tag the bag. Because there's a man on third. That man on third doesn't matter. Just tag the bag. Will Craig decides that he is going to chase Javier Baez all the way down the first base line back to home plate so that the runner on third base can score. Then he proceeds to throw the ball back to first base where the second baseman is scrambling to cover because Javi Baez realizes no one's covering first base. He throws a bad ball. It gets past the second baseman. Javier Baez takes off for second and takes second as well. So they turned a ground ball out to third base into a double with a run scored. How do you do that?
Yeah, I'm not even, me, baseball's not my expertise, but that play was like I can go up to in here in Munhall and watch like the pony leagues and they would field that play better.
Chad, in all of my life of baseball, man, T-ball, Little League, Pony League, Colt League, Super Colt, high school baseball, all the baseball that I played, all the baseball that I watched, all the T-ball that I helped coach when my cousins played, I have never seen anything more dumb than what I saw today at PNC Park. I really am not. And so it triggered me to put up the Twitter poll, worst play in Pittsburgh sports 2021. And I really thought that would get more votes than it did. But I think that Jarry pass to Josh Bailey really is just sitting bad with people because of what it did for that series. And so right now we've got 179 votes in a few hours, and we've got 23.5% for the Pouncey snap, 52% for the Jarry snafu, and the Pirates mess against the Cubs today got 24.6%. I'm actually shocked the Pirates got more than Pouncey.
So I think the Pirates fundamentally, if we're looking at
it's the worst. It's the worst.
But the Jarry one, I think the Jarry flub is one of the most costly errors we've seen in years. I mean, that cost them a game and arguably the series. They win that game, they probably win the series.
Yep.
Because even if they lose game 6, they bring home back in game 7. The odds were in their favor. Usually teams that go up 3-2, I think it's like 78% of the time.
Right. And even friend of the show, Jordan DeFigio, her reply to it was, wait, is this worst as in most embarrassing or worst as in most unexpected and heartbreaking? It's a good. I told her it's up to interpretation because it could be any with these three.
But honestly, the Jarry one fundamentally was right there because it's crazy. This is again anti-Malkin stuff. I had people blaming Malkin for that play. Oh, he didn't hustle back. But if you take a screenshot of when Jarry had the puck, he had I believe it was Matheson on his left side and Gino on his right side. Nobody near the boards on the right side. Any competent goaltender just sends that thing flying up the boards. Even if the team gets it on the boards, that's way better than them
he could have even gone around behind the net and around it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he could have
gone anyway. And like the whole thing with Gino, because someone else said that to me that Gino didn't try. Look, this is why it's so bad. It's such a routine play in hockey. A pass goes off the boards, it bounces a little too far for the guy at the point.
Mm-hmm.
Look at every point man in that situation. They're not going to dive for that puck and go out of position. they're just going to acknowledge that nobody's going to get that puck other than the goalie, and they're going to put themselves in position to receive a pass from the goalie. That's what Malcolm was doing. He knew Jari will have it. He'll pass it to me, or he'll pass it to whoever else is over there, and it'll be a done deal. And all of my life of playing hockey, beer league, ice hockey, deck hockey with you and the boys from Homestead and Hazelwood, all of the street hockey down the run in Hazelwood, you never go up the middle with the puck.
Ever.
You reamed me out for that once, for going up the middle with the ball in a deck hockey game.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't do it. And so, you're right. Technically speaking, as far as fundamentals go, that I wouldn't say it's as bad, but it was close. I mean, it wasn't good. But that was just kind of like, I think we've got to be able to laugh at ourselves as Pittsburgh sports fans, or else it's going to just be nothing but misery sometimes. So it's funny, as many championships as we've seen, I've been to 3 Stanley Cup parades. I've been to 2 Super Bowl parades. My dad has, our parents has seen, 6 Super Bowls from the Steelers and 5 cups from the Penguins, and a few World Series. My dad was alive for at least 3 World Series for the Pirates, 60, 71, and 79.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that we look at ourselves as a spoiled sports town, and we are. Not to mention the players we get to see. We've got to see some pretty special players in our time too. But boy, when they screw up, they really, really do a great job of picking the biggest times and the worst ways to screw up. I mean, you go back to Neil O'Donnell, it just something about the theatrics with Pittsburgh sports, that when they go bad, they go real bad. And, so we've got to be able to laugh at it. So if you haven't taken that poll yet, take that poll. I'm interested to see what the rest of the city thinks about the worst play of 2021. And I hate to break it to everyone, we still have 6 months left in 2021. So we got plenty of time to do something worse. The last thing I want to bring up, Chad, is one that's near and dear to me. It's not nothing to do particularly with pro sports, but it's something that really just got under my skin, and I wanted to throw it out there to everybody. I tweeted it out yesterday. If you follow me, you probably saw this, and I've already had a couple people ask about ways that they can donate. But everyone knows I'm from Hazelwood. I don't hide that. I'm pretty proud of that. Hazelwood's youth football team is called the Cobras. And so the Hazelwood Cobras play at Bergwin Field. And there's a storage building right next to the swimming pool that houses all of the sports equipment. When I played baseball for Hazelwood, that's where we put all the baseball equipment. Now that's where the football team has all of their football equipment, all of their helmets, all of their shoulder pads, all of their tackling dummy. Everything that they use for the football team is in this storage building. That storage building has a couple of water lines in it. And PWSA, Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority, were testing out water lines. What they didn't do when they tested those water lines out was take all of the sports equipment out of the room. They left all of the sports equipment on the floor, flooded the room, and didn't try to dry anything out, didn't call anyone and let them know that this happened. They just closed the door and let it roll. Well, when football started up, when practices started up for the Hazelwood Cobras, they got into their equipment and it was full of mold and mildew. So basically where they're at is PWSA is not taking, ownership of this, even though that their guys were caught in the act of running this water. They're not taking ownership of it. And I don't have all of the details of the story, right? You could watch the news story that I posted, and we're trying to get my friend, my buddy Poos Cole, runs the organization now, and I'm trying to get him on. We're trying to work out some time to have him on to talk about this a little bit. Long and short of it, they are down about $8,000 worth of football equipment, and right now it's on the community to fit the bill. Which is disgusting, because Hazelwood is like, you're from Homestead, so you know this too. We're neighborhoods that are forgotten. We're neighborhoods that people really don't give a damn about. We're neighborhoods that the city and the municipalities, the county, they don't care about us because we're low income, poor neighborhoods. And so football is one of the only things that our neighborhoods do have that we could be proud of. And that may be taken away from all of the kids in Hazelwood this year, because $8,000 is a lot of money for a community like Hazelwood to come up with. So with that said, I am going to link right now they have a Cash App up. I'm going to put that in the description of this video, of this episode this week. I'm going to
post it to Twitter too.
Yeah, I'll put it on the show's Twitter account. I'll put it on my personal Twitter account. And I will also, if you want to get in contact with Poos, his real name is James, but if you want to get in contact with the Hazelwood youth football organization, I will work out ways where we can get people in touch with them. But this is more of a plea coming from the bottom of my heart, because that's my hometown, that's my community. If there's anything you can do to help these kids out, they really need the positive encouragement and the structure that comes with playing football. It really does help them, and I know a lot of kids. Poos himself, actually, if I'm not mistaken, he played college football and was he was an alum of the Cobras. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you're able to, it would be very much appreciated. And I wanted to, spend the end of the show just, take a couple minutes and talk about what happened and what they're going through, and, ways that we all can help as a sports community in Pittsburgh. So that's it for me, man. You got anything to close on?
No, definitely help out that, help out that cause. Recreational sports, rec centers, all this stuff is way more important than people realize. I know Charlie Batch is building a rec center over here in Still Valley too, by the bus field. So yeah, if you can help that, because here's the thing: people complain about, kids are always up to no good, they're in trouble, they're this or that. Well, I'm going to throw the Joker at you right now. We live in a society.
Yeah.
And when you live in a society, you should care about one another. And when I was playing sports, that was when I was on my best behavior. I remember I made the honor roll for the first time ever in 10th grade, because I was on the football team, but I wasn't allowed to play the first 4 games, and that sucked, dude. Like, you looked like an idiot because you were wearing your jersey, and but you weren't playing.
Sitting on a sideline, yep.
Yeah, so then I was like, I got to get my grades, and I got a 3.2. So for everybody that complains about, these kids, they're bad, they're on the streets, or that, well, do something about it.
Yeah, yeah. And, we've already, a lot of youth organizations, and I'm pretty sure Hazelwood at least lost part of their season last year. The pandemic screwed up a lot of sports for a lot of communities. So this is the year that, man, they're finally going to get back into it. These kids are really looking forward to it. They're excited. And then this happens to them. So
yep.
I'm definitely going to be helping out. I'm hoping to be down back in Hazelwood in the next couple of days to, talk with Poos and talk with the leaders down there and the coaches and see what we can do. And, maybe we'll tag team and do something with the podcast. So, again, if you guys could help out with that, that would be a big deal to me, just because that's my hometown, and it would be much appreciated. So with that all said, I'm not going to ramble anymore. Again, we want to thank Taylor Haase for coming on of DKPittsburghSports.com. Again, check her out. She's got plenty of great work. Her prospect stuff is awesome, and we're definitely going to get her on for either the draft or the expansion draft, maybe both. We're going to talk prospects with her. We want to thank Mike Hitt and MCM Studios for sponsoring the show. We appreciate everything that they do for us. And, that's it, man. So we'll catch you guys next week. And Chad will probably catch you on a live stream. Maybe I'll try to fit my big head in there somewhere. But, we appreciate you all for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to 412 Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you like the show, leave us a review, and be sure to tell a friend about your source for all things Pittsburgh sports. Find us on Twitter at MadChad412 and at Eddie_P_412.